Hi, I'm Graham Clint, Assistant Provost and Executive Director for Teaching, Learning plus Technology at Stony Brook University. And this is Innovations in Education. In our show, we feature faculty and staff using innovative approaches and best practices to teaching and applications of educational technology that have had a positive effect on student learning. In our show today, I'm joined by Eugene Hammond, the Director of the Program in Writing and Rhetoric at Stony Brook University, and we will be discussing using portfolios as an assessment tool. Gene, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Grant.
Can you tell me a little bit about what you teach and the venue in which you teach?
Well, we teach the freshman writing course, which is 20 students at a time, and try to get them from the point where they have no confidence in writing to being able to write papers about things that they've read and papers about research they've done in the library and papers based on interviews that they do with other people. So to get them out doing research in a variety of places and then to get them to learn how to write that up in an intelligent way.
Okay. And how has assessment of writing changed over the years?
Well, I've been doing this since 1978, and so at that time still people took grammar tests very often to see whether they had done well enough in a writing class. Or they would turn in just one paper at a time and it wouldn't be seen again. But just about that same time that I started, Peter Elbow took over as director of the writing program here at Stony Brook. And he introduced, at least widespread way, the idea of portfolios for writing. And he was borrowing from the idea of artists. You know, when an artist wants to get a job, she will show you, her best work. Or a photographer, he will show you his best work. So the idea was to give students a chance to not just be found wanting in various ways, but to say, this is the best work that I can produce. And that's a good avenue toward professional development for the students. It's also a good way for the program to assess itself and to see how much are each of its teachers teaching the students. Are the teachers equally successful at teaching the students? How can we learn from other teachers as we assess their the portfolios of their students? So it serves a wide variety of purposes for us. And from Peter Elbow's starting it here at Stony Brook, it has spread all over the country. Although I would say still probably is used in only 1/3 of the schools in the country.
So how would you broadly define a portfolio?
A portfolio is a summation of your best work in a course. So for most students in our courses, for example, it would be 3, 4, 5-page papers that they not only work on for a deadline, say September 25th in their class, but then they continue to revise those papers in the light of the teacher's comments and the comments of other students until the end, where they, at the end of the course, try to present the best way that they can offer each of these papers. Okay.
Now, are they intended to show just the best work, or are they in some way supposed to illustrate growth?
Good point. At various times, depending on the year, we ask students to put in, say, an early draft of papers, or it depends on how much we have time to read in part. But it's very important for us to see, and for the students to recognize in their own self-assessment, how far they have come from their first drafts. And so putting those earlier drafts in really does help them see that growth.
Okay. And are there any advantages to, as a grading approach in the course, to use a portfolio over traditional grading techniques?
It probably has raised grades a little bit because people are showing more of their best work or being judged on more of their best work.
So it's raised the expectations for the students.
I think that's important part of it too. And then it allows them to give something, say, to an employer that they're trying to get a job to. They can, just like an artist or a photographer, they can present that portfolio to somebody and say, this is what I can do. And certainly when a student comes to my office and wants to get exempted from freshman English or anything like that, if he's got a portfolio to show me, I have a good sense of what he's capable of doing.
Okay. And where are these stored? I mean, are these paper folders? The students keep them with them, or how does that work?
Good point, because we are starting to move toward electronic portfolios. Right now, it's still paper heavy. I've had students who object to how much paper they have to use in a writing class on ecological grounds, and I say, well, this is one of the most important skills for you to learn, and so it's worth a few trees to do this. And I try to convince them that not to be too paper conscious. However, now we do have students all turn in 20 or 25 pages at the end of a semester, and we would like to do it electronically if teachers can read it easily enough, and if the submission doesn't have too many glitches in it, so that we're missing 2 or 3 or 4 students' portfolios at the end of the year. But we've talked as a department already about shifting over to electronic portfolio, and I'm sure we will within the next 4 or 5 years.
So a student comes to your courses, they develop a set of documents, assignments through the semester. Are they graded on them, or do you just take the portfolio at the end and grade the portfolio?
Teachers do it differently, but I would say most teachers grade maybe 2/3 on what they do during the year and 1/3 on the portfolio at the end. So that gives students a chance to rally at the end and to realize when they're trying to be the most professional that this is an important thing to do. And then, of course, if they are not well prepared at that portfolio at the end, they suffer severely with grades, because at that point, grammatical errors, and everything else is more important than it is along the way.
What happens when the course is over? Do the students just throw those away, or?
Good question. Funny thing is that in 1969 at Notre Dame, I had to turn in a portfolio, and I still have that portfolio.
Really?
But that's probably related.
Can I see it?
It's at home. I don't have it in the attic. But so that's what, 1969.
I have similar. I have a set of papers that I wrote for pharmacology classes, essays about physiology and so on, that were fundamental
to your growth. Huh?
Yeah, and I still have them. I still occasionally look back at them.
That's good. I wish that all students would treasure them. I think some of them throw them away, some of them neglect them. But I think the new stage that we're going to get into with electronic portfolio will be very easy for students to save them. And then maybe they won't use them for 10 years, but maybe they will use them many times in the coming years. If they don't use them, they won't feel obliged to throw it away the next time they move. But they'll have it.
The more courses that use it, they can actually start building the portfolio across courses and across disciplines. And I know you're a particular advocate for teaching across disciplines. How might portfolios help with that?
Well, I believe very strongly that writing helps students understand any subject, even math, which might seem to be the least writing connected subject. You know how students have so much trouble with word problems in math. And we often maybe avoid word problems because they're too difficult. But really, word problems are what real math problems are about. So
define a word problem.
A word problem in a math course is, instead of just being asked to figure out 3x equals 12 and solve for x, a word problem would be you're driving on the highway and your wife is driving on the highway and you stop for gas. She's going 50 miles an hour. How fast do you have to go in order to catch up to her at in an hour?
So how to encode real situations into the mathematical language.
Exactly.
Okay.
And in real life, that's what you have to do. You have to find a real situation and then find a mathematical way of expressing it and solving the problem. So it's very much real life, and it's very much what students will have to do in their future. So if students are going to use writing as a resource in these other classes, which I think they should, and in many classes they already do, then they can save those and show in their major, for example, what they can write in their major, in business or something like that. Right now we're doing a writing, cooperating with the business program with their senior honor students, and they're taking a business ethics course, and they're going to write a 30-page paper in that course. And we're going to have a writing instructor working on that 30-page paper with the students, during the whole course. The students are going to write the paper about some business in the area, and when they look for a job, they'll almost certainly use that 30-page paper as one of the things to say, look, I can investigate a problem in your business and I can solve it, or at least come up with a good solution or a plausible solution. So, I think that model works in every field.
Okay. So, do you partner with other disciplines? Like, could you perhaps combine a writing course and a physics course, each 3 credits, and make them a 6-credit combined course?
Well, that's what we're doing with business right now. In other cases, we supply some help for a professor in another course where we will help the students see how they should go about writing a paper, and or look at the papers that the students write before the professor does to see how well they're written. But I like best when we have that full partnership.
Okay. So one is where the Writing Center, which reports to you, would actually help the students
That's right. That's another option,
revise.
certainly. They will help individual students. Our tutors in the Writing Center will help individual students in other courses write their papers.
So faculty can ask students to go to the Writing Center from any discipline and get help writing a paper.
Absolutely.
If they want to include more writing exercises
Absolutely.
in their course.
And correcting writing is very time consuming. We recognize that. So we're trying to find as many ways as possible to make it easier for professors in other disciplines to assign writing and still have enough time to assess it.